Hi everyone! So this book is called The Squirrels Who Squabbled by Rachel Bright and Jim Field. And the back blurb says, everybody wins when you work together. So it's like we've learned the lesson for the book before we've even gotten started. Cyril and Bruce both want the last pine cone of the season, and they're not going to share it. Who will win? A laugh out loud lesson on friendship and sharing. So my mind is ready to be learning about friendship and sharing. In a towering forest, hold on, I always hold this, here we go. In a towering forest where summer had been, the leaves turned to gold as a cold wind blew in. And as autumn arrived with the sky raging red, the sleepiest creatures got ready for bed. While up in a tree swung a flighty young squirrel who everyone knew as spontaneous Cyril. Cyril. I think Cyril. Now most foresty folk had seen to their needs, through the plentiful months of mushrooms and seeds. They'd built up their stores so they'd all be well fed through the frosting of winter that glittered ahead. But Cyril, he had lived in the here and the now. He'd adventured and partied his way through the year. So his cupboard was empty, his hollow was bare. He hadn't a mouthful of food anywhere. So they're saying that some of the animals were preparing for the long winter, and you can see how they were bringing pine cones and leaves and food to store. They worked hard all summer to make sure they'd have enough food to eat in the winter. But Cyril, he didn't do that. His cupboard, a cupboard is another name for like shelves or a pantry, his cupboard was bare. There wasn't anything in it to eat. But wait, what was that? Over there, take a look. A single lone pine cone wedged in a nook. He squealed with delight, and for very good reason, for inside were the very last nuts of the season. But Cyril wasn't alone. There were more hungry eyes. Yes, plan ahead Bruce had his sights on the prize. So we're learning about Bruce, a new character. Though he'd gathered fresh treasures of every sort, Bruce was convinced he was one pine cone short. I simply must have it, he wistfully cried, as he dreamt of the fresh, juicy pine nuts inside. So look what everything that Bruce has gathered for the winter. Who do you think is more deserving of that pine cone? Bruce or Cyril? Cyril doesn't have any pine cones, and Bruce has all of these pine cones. Maybe you're thinking, Bruce doesn't need any more pine cones. Look how much he has. He should give that one last pine cone to Cyril. Or maybe you're thinking, Bruce has worked really hard to get all these pine cones. He should keep them. Cyril hasn't done much of anything. He's been playing all summer. So as Cyril set off on his way to the ground, Bruce, he was also last pine cone bound. They sprinted and scurried with no time to gamble. They scratched at the bark in their scampering scramble. But their panic and haste shook the tips of the spruce, and the pine cone trembled, and then it came loose. It boinged over bushes and flew through the air. It binged on the nose of a slumbering bear. It bounced over boulders, then came to a plop. Here it is, plop. Both squirrels followed. Oh, the water was fast. Would they learn that they needed each other at last? Are you noticing a rhyming pattern in this poem? I'm noticing some rhyming at the ends of the words. But each was intent on how he could win, so they didn't quite notice a bird swooping in. Cyril and Bruce, they watched in dismay as their cone disappeared, up, and away. Come back, shouted Cyril. There are nuts, exclaimed Bruce, but all hope was gone. It was simply no use. You can see the two squirrels at the bottom of the page on a log there, or a branch. And meanwhile they drifted right up to the ledge. Greed, it was drawing them, or driving them. Turn the book this way. Over the ledge. What does greed mean? If someone is greedy, it means they just want more and more of everything, right? So their greed, they both wanted that pine cone, and now they were falling over the edge of a waterfall because they wanted more and more. Cyril and Bruce, they had taken a fall. They were paying the price for wanting it all. They'd squandered their chances to team up and share, with their nutty young hopes simply end in despair. So I think the author is saying that if they just shared the pine cone, instead of fighting over it, they wouldn't have fallen over their waterfall, right? They would be safe and they would be sharing the food. Bruised and bedraggled, they swept past dry land. Cyril grabbed a branch with a trembling hand. Catching Bruce with the other, he heaved and he huffed, and pulled him to safety with panting and puffs. They dragged themselves up with sputtering wriggles. Then Bruce looked at Cyril and, what do you think they did? Exploded in giggles. How silly we are, he managed to mutter. How greedy I've been, he proclaimed with a sputter. We shall change from today. May the squabbling cease. We should celebrate, seeing we're both in one piece. From that day and forward, they made a great pair. They would gather together and found they could share. Yes, Cyril and Bruce, they knew in the end, the best thing to share is a laugh with your friend. So these two characters definitely changed over the course of the book, right? They learned that it's better to be friends and share than fight over something. So readers, we have just finished up a big fiction unit. We just finished up this whole unit on meeting characters and learning their lessons. There's no school on Monday because of Memorial Day, but on Tuesday, we are starting a new unit in reading. We are reading information books. We're going back to nonfiction. So our read-alouds next week will be teaching books, information books, all right? See you then. Have a good weekend, everybody.